All right, guys, are you ready? Woohoo! All right, you ready to learn how to be free? Free indeed. Come on now. Amen. All right. Well, we want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a lot of paper, got your pen ready, because I'll tell you what, it's a lot of information that you're going to receive throughout these 2 days. It's powerful.
There we go. There we go. Now
all right, that's good. Woohoo!
Ooh, that's a little too much. That's too hot. There we go. All right, good deal. We're ready to roll.
All right, ready to roll, Bobby?
We're ready to roll.
How many know of Bobby Lawrence? Okay, y'all do, right?
Cool,
okay.
Awesome.
How many just learned about Bobby Lawrence? All right.
All right.
Awesome. All right. All right.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you so much, friend. All right, folks. Welcome to your walk to freedom, or your journey to freedom. Bring me down just a little bit. I got some feedback here. Just a little bit. So, we live in a very interesting time in our country's existence. We are actually going through what I feel and have learned is a refounding of our principles, our first principles of how we were formed, under what dominion we were formed, what gave we the people the right to create such a thing called the United States and the several states thereof. What gave people the right to self-govern and throw off a king? This is the first nation and the longest republic in history to do this and have it be so successful. And there have been global forces for over 150 years, actually since the founding of our nation, that have been working against we the people and working against our constitutional republic. And many of them you have voted for. Past presidents of both parties, your local representatives, your local sheriffs. It's through their ignorance, they ignore the truth, and they do what they're told by a bar attorney, okay, or someone else. You know, my state senator, I love the guy, his name's Doug Mastriano, and I talk to him every now and then. And one of the things that frustrates me the most, he's a great guy, I love him to death, is he says he has to check with the attorney before they can do anything up there. That's their rules by the leadership. Well, the bar attorney that they have is very, very young and is schooled in code statutes and ordinances, which are not law. And what the elected employees don't understand, we call them our leaders. They're officially ignorant of what real law is. They are not our leaders. They are our public servants. And we need to educate them that's what they are. They are above, in the case of a state senator, they are above the bar attorney. They don't need to ask the bar attorney anything. They have something, it's called the Bible and the four founding documents of our nation. And they can be read at an 8th grade high school level and comprehended when you comprehend what words mean and meant at the time they were put on the paper. Yes, sir.
Great segue. I was just a little bit concerned that I thought you might start with prayer.
A prayer? We can do that. We can do. Who'd like to lead us in a prayer? Who would like to lead us in a prayer? Come on up. We have a microphone? Oh, okay. We'll go right ahead.
Father God, we come before you today and we thank you for the day that you've given us in which to be able to be enriched, to be able to grow in the knowledge of your presence here in our midst. We ask the Lord to bless these proceedings today. We ask for your guidance and open our ears and our eyes to know the truth when we hear it, and to be able to know that you are the ultimate truth that has been given to us in order to be able to take America back from the forces that have been compromised here. We ask you to bless this man as he goes forth and give us the word to be able to be enriched today. Bless our family and our friends not with us, keep them safe and well as they go through their day. We ask for this, Father God, in the name of your Son Jesus, by the power of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Amen. What's that?
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Okay, Father, if there's any astral projected souls in this room from the cabal, we ask you to send 2 armies of holy warring angels to remove them and take them 600 miles away and hold them there for the next 24 hours. And we ask you to send your holy angels in to close all evil portals, all gates, wells, portals, enemy cannot come in and disturb what we are doing. And the blood of Yeshua. Amen.
Yes, the proper name of God. Thank you. All righty. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Now, we don't start off with a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States, and there's a reason for that. Our flag has been co-opted by the cabal. What we think in the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes that we all love. Is there any veterans in the room? There you go. We took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States for America, not the corporate Constitution that the flag flies in favor of right now. It's not, the flag that flies is not our de jure flag. The de jure flag of the people, the civilian flag of peace for people, is this flag. You don't owe your allegiance to the United States, a corporation. You owe your allegiance to God, your family, and the state you inhabit. Not a flag, a military war flag. This is the flag you owe allegiance to. It is the flag of God. It is the flag of peace. It is the civilian peace flag. This is what a state national, one of we the people, flies on their property. It's not been co-opted by the cabal, the Bar Association, the banking cartel, the Crown Inc., the Queen of England, the Queen of Holland, or the Vatican. It doesn't have a gold fringe around it because it's not a captured flag. This is your flag as a free man, a free woman, one of we the people. They can be found at U.S. Civil Flags. You can do a search for that. And I'm very proud of that flag. It flew on our nation's capital for a very short time. And then it was taken down and the war flag was put up. We are and have been in a state of war for over 100 years. We're under martial law, and it's renewed every year through executive order. So, where I was at was, there was two of everything. We're going to learn about what two of everything is. Evil and good. What is de jure and what is lawful. And what is de facto and what is legal. Legal is the undoing of God's law. Lawful is God's law, common law, real law. Supreme Court cases. Case law. Flournoy versus First National Bank of Shreveport. A statute is not law. In Reshelf versus Ray, a code is not law. A concurrent or joint resolution of a legislature is not law. Koenig versus Flynn. I can go on and on and on. Anyone who voluntarily gives up their rights to their freedom or their free agency admits to the jurisdiction and control of government. Anyone who voluntarily gives up their rights. The Constitution does not give you any rights. Your rights are a natural, born right to you, given to you by God, your Creator. If you don't believe in God, that's fine. He believes in you. And they cannot be restricted or taken from you unless by your consent, either knowingly or unknowingly, through a tacit agreement, through fraud, fear, intimidation, and coercion by government actors. What the Constitution does in the first 10 articles of the amendment is known as the Bill of Rights. It is to restrict government, not we the people, to restrict federal and state from interfering in the rights of men and women who exercise their inherited rights freely. These are quotes from Supreme Court cases, folks. I've got 2 copies of them up here. Since in common usage the term person is a corporation, a government employee, or an agent thereof, and does not include the sovereign, the living, breathing man or woman with a soul. Statutes not employing the phrase are ordinarily construed to exclude it. United States v. Fox. You are not a sovereign citizen, municipal servant, You do not have a Zen master. How many of you have ever heard of the phrase a Zen master? You do not have a Zen master. You are not a city Zen unless you choose to be in public service by your choice. The word sovereign people are familiarly used to describe the political body who, according to our republican institutions, form the sovereign. As king is what sovereign means when you look it up in Bouvier's Law Dictionary. Bouvier's Law Dictionary was adopted by our Supreme Court back in the early 1800s as the supreme legal dictionary for our nation. So all these local code statutes and ordinances that redefine what the word person means, what freedom, liberty, your rights are, they redefine these words to take them from your common understanding under common law and construe them under the law of the water to use against you as a weapon to take money out of your pocket and hold you as a slave. So sovereign is as a king, and who hold the power and conduct the government through their representatives. Every citizen, de jure citizen, capital C, is one of three, or is one of these people, and a constituent member of this sovereignty. Scott v. Stanford. Sovereignty means supremacy in respect of power, dominion, or rank, supreme dominion, or authority of rule. That's Brandes versus Mitterling. Government is not sovereign. Government is the machinery or expedient for expressing the will of the sovereign power. The city of Bisbee versus Cochise County. These are just the highlights. I can go on and on and on. There's over 150 of them that I've researched and found that says people have dominion over government, period. Period. Not a citizen, not a resident, not a person. And what your freedom and liberty has been stolen from you by is the use of words through chicanery, sophistry, and fraud. Everything that the government does to you, every interaction that you have is done to your vessel. There's two of everything. We're going to get into the two of everything and where law came from and where we got the dominion over government. We're going to talk a little bit about our founding and where did we get the authority. But first I want to talk about this. This is something that, as I was researching Adams, John Adams, not Samuel Adams, I found a bunch of quotes that was published about that he had said. So I actually dug up the document that those quotes came from. And it's a very powerful statement. And I'm going to read it to you. This is from one of our founding fathers, our founding generation. He says to his wife, "I read my eyes out and can't read half enough neither. The more one reads, the more one sees we have to read. Defeat appears to me to be preferable than succumbing to total inaction. The true source of our suffering has been our timidity. We have been afraid to think. Let us now dare to read, to think, to speak, and to write. The prospect now before us in America ought to be to engage the attention of every man, woman, and child to the learning of the matters of power and righteousness, so that we may neither be led nor driven blindfolded to irretrievable destruction. Liberty and freedom cannot be preserved without a general knowledge shared among the people. The abuse of words has been the great instrument of sophistry and chicanery, and of party, and of faction, and of division among the people in our society. Liberty must at all hazards and all costs be supported. We have a right to it derived from our Maker. Our founding generation have earned and bought it for us at the expense of their ease, their estates, their pleasure, their blood, and their lives. Tyranny can scarcely be practiced upon a virtuous and wise people. You see, folks, knowledge is power. Truth is our armor. God's law is our foundation. And freedom is a gift from our Creator. And we, the people, must stand and defend all of them. This is the task of our generations that live in this country and on this planet at this time. Our mission is to restore God's law and true freedom back to our land and put government back in the box that was created for them by God, by the dominion of we the people. So where did we get the dominion? And how did they declare it, our founding generation? How many of you have read the Constitution and truly comprehend what it says? That's okay. How many of you know the first 5 liberties in the First Amendment? There are 5 of them, and they're in a specific order. It's okay, because I didn't know them either. The founding documents of this nation are, I don't want you to write them down. These are the founding documents that you need to read. They are listed in the United States Code as the organic laws of our nation, and they are thereby recognized under the law of nations as our foundation documents, the supreme law of our nation and all the respective states, the several states. Several does not mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Several means they are severed from one another. They came together in a union through a compact called the United States Constitution for America, not of. Write this stuff down. Your first founding document is called your Declaration of Independence. Your Declaration of Independence is followed by the Articles of Confederation. You need to read these documents and know what they are and why those words mean what they mean. Yes?
So when I look this up, there's so many sources. How do I know that the one I'm reading is accurate?
The U.S. Code has all the de jure documents referenced. Remember, de jure is what? De jure is divine. It is law. It is real law. And legal is de facto. It is facts devoid of God's law. De facto is legal. Legal is the undoing of God's law. What is lawful is not legal. What is legal is not lawful. And I'll show you the difference in the U.S. Code that they admit that is a fact. What is legal is not lawful, and what is lawful is not legal. How many of you have cash in your pocket right now? There you go. So we're going to talk about what is legal and what is lawful. Here's how you make that point. This, ladies and gentlemen, your money, your cash, your fiat currency, these are all names for this. Your fiat currency, your cash, what you think is real money is not real money. It is, wait a minute, I need to put the right hat on for this. It is SMU. It is shit made up. Where does the word shit come from? It's admiral. Remember I told you it's admiralty law. Everything is admiralty. The word shit is admiralty. And the word shit means store high in transit because the bilge water is full of urine and feces and all kinds of stuff you don't want to get on the cargo. So they would write SHIT on the side of the box or painted on there so it was stored high in transit so it wasn't soiled by the bilge water. It's admiralty. It's maritime law. It's a word. So we're going to talk about shit made up. Because that's exactly what it is. Now, what did I do with my... Here we go. I got too many transparencies up here. So, U.S. Code Title 12, the money you think you have in your pocket. I'm going to demonstrate to you what is legal is not lawful, and what is lawful is not legal. That's all the bigger I can make it unless I move way back and I run out of screen here. I'll read it to you so you can write it down, or you can come up and look at it. Folks, this is very important information. One must comprehend their status and upon what you stand and which jurisdiction you're in. Status, standing, and jurisdiction is very, 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 very important to remaining free. The money you think you have in your pocket is not money. Those dollar bills, there's ones, fives, tens, 20s, 50s, hundreds. They are not real money unless they're a transition note that comes in the form of a $100 bill. That's a transition note. It's got a blue line down the middle of it. It's a $100 bill. That's lawful money. There's a blue line down the middle of it. See the gold inkwell? The gold inkwell has $100 worth of real gold ground up in it. That's a transition note. Thank you, President Donald Trump. Donald Trump's been working for you, the people, for a lot longer than he's been president. He actually started working for you back in 2008. It does on the one side, and it says legal tender. No, yep, on the left-hand side, because the left-hand side does not have the gold inkwell on it, does it? And it's in different color ink than the right-hand side. There's a reason it's on the left-hand side, because left is shit made up. The right-hand side is de jure. The blue line is contract. It's a transition note from shit made up, legal tender, to de jure money. So let's read this U.S. Code. This is U.S. Code. It says, U.S. Code Title 12, Chapter 3. I want you to look at how deeply they hide this from you. They being the bar attorneys we keep electing to office. Okay? This is how deep in the U.S. Code they hide it. 1, 2, 3, 4 levels deep to find this. Under U.S. Code Title 12, Chapter 3, Subchapter 12, Subsection 411, it says, Federal Reserve notes, legal tender, to be issued at the discretion of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the purpose of making advances to Federal Reserve banks through the Federal Reserve agents as hereinafter set forth, and for no other purpose are authorized. So the cabal authorized the Federal Reserve to create Federal Reserve notes, which is listed as legal tender on the front of them. And they can be issued at the discretion of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System is a private corporation, for profit. Who owns it?
25 of the highest Illuminati families.
Yeah, not you. Okay. The said notes shall be obligations of the United States, all capitals, it is a corporation, shall be obligations of the United States, all capitals, the corporation, and shall be receivable by all national and member banks and Federal Reserve banks for all taxes, customs, and other public dues. It doesn't say private, does it? Public dues. Everything is public because you're drawn into the water under admiralty law. We're going to talk about where law comes from and what is public and what is private. Private property is under land. Public commerce is under water. admiralty law. Land is common law, real law, ownership, property. For customs and other public dues. Now here's where they say, they, meaning Federal Reserve notes, they shall be redeemed in lawful money, legal tender, lawful money. What is legal is not lawful. What is lawful is not legal. The U.S. Code says so. They just told you right there that they make shit up. They shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States, all capital letters, in the city of Washington, the District of Columbia, or at any Federal Reserve Bank. This law was passed in 1913. It was amended in 1935 and hasn't changed since 1935. When FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, took away your allodial titles to your real property and took away your real silver and gold money by an executive order, and stole your country from you, that son of a bitch. Excuse me, I get hot when I talk about this. His New Deal was to take away everything you owned and make you a slave. And then hold your body as surety when he authorized the Transportation Department to issue birth certificate regulations. And you started filling out birth certificate forms, your parents did and you did, not knowing that you were an informant and turning your child over to the government as a ward of the state. We're going to get into that. So since 1935, they haven't bothered to change it because you haven't gotten pissed off enough about it yet. You didn't know. Exactly. I didn't know either. Folks, January 26th of this year, my entire life changed. A man named David Lester Strait found my channel on Telegram, where I was talking about how we can take back our country using our founding documents, and David said to me on a comment, he and I had only had brief conversations in a run-in when we were bumped into each other in a teleconference call we were both part of. We were on a teleconference call with about 2,000 people. David was one of the presenters, and I was one of the presenters. And that's the first time I ever heard David's voice or knew his name. And we became friends after that, although at a distance. So David reached out to me on my Telegram channel that I started on January 19th. On January 26th, David Strait and I had a conversation at 10:30 at night. I'll never forget it as long as I live. My life was changed in that 3.5-hour conversation we had at 10:30 at night. It lasted for 3.5 hours. And he sent me a thumb drive. And it took me 3 months to read it all and comprehend it all and verify that it wasn't more shit made up. Believe me, I tried to prove the man wrong, and I couldn't do it. I thought, this guy's got something here. So, my life changed because of that phone conversation, and it's led me to where I am today. It's leading me down the path to close down my business, my corporation. It's a very profitable corporation. It's led me to have a very comfortable and prosperous lifestyle. And I'm going to close that down because money doesn't mean anything. Money is just shit made up. Money is what buys you freedom, time, and peace of mind. Okay? As a free man, one of we the people, I don't carry their shit made up Federal Reserve notes on me unless it's to do business with someone who has a comprehension of what they think is money. Under their Parents Patriae Act, the cabal can pierce my veil as a people, my status as a state national, for dealing in fiat currency and not having real money on me. I can be deemed a pauper. I'm walking around as a pauper. And they can pierce my veil as a state national, as one of we the people, and put me back in the box called the 14th Amendment citizen. They can't do that because I carry real money. I am not a pauper. There's $2,040 right there in those two coins. Federal Reserve note, it takes 2,040 of them to buy those two coins. The face value of real money is $51. It's one gold coin and 1 silver coin, 1 pure ounce of gold, and 1 pure ounce of silver. Start buying silver. If you can't afford to pay $2,000 a piece for a coin, buy as many silvers as you can. They're relatively cheap. You can get them for $28 a piece. Real money's coming back, printed by the United States Mint. Okay? So, I just demonstrated to you that there is a difference between lawful and legal, and the cabal tells you so. Now, I want to back up a little bit. I needed to show you that so I can talk about something that happened way before and where we get our dominion. Our founding documents that you know of right now are 2 of them. The first one is the Declaration of Independence. The next one is the Articles of Confederation. These are listed in the United States Code under the Organic Laws. You can find them online. The next one is the United States Constitution for America that George Washington was sworn in under as president in March of 1789. And that is the United States Constitution for America. A compact, a contract, a trust indenture. And at the very beginning of that document, it says, "We the people." 3 biggest words on the document, and they're the 3 biggest words and the 3 first words on the document for a reason. The next document that is our founding document, recognized in the United States Code, is the Northwest Ordinance, or the Northwest Compact. That deals with meets, M-E-T-E-S, and bounds, B-O-U-N-D-S. That deals with allodial titles, real property, land, land warrants, land patents, the description of such. Those are your 4 supreme laws of our land. So the one that we all know about, and is by and large the governing body, the governing document, I should say, of our nation, is the United States Constitution for America. And the very first words are "we the people," in order to establish a more perfect union. Not a perfect union, a more perfect union. Where did we the people get the authority to establish a more perfect union and throw off a king? We have to go back to the very first document called the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is not the act by the Continental Congress. I say it again, it is not the act of the Continental Congress that separated the 13 original states from Great Britain. This is another thing your history books leave out. The very first founding document of our nation that's recognized is the Declaration of Independence. What's not recognized is the Lee Resolution. Our independence from Great Britain was actually declared on the 2nd, not the 4th, 2 days prior to the Declaration of Independence. If you look it up in the Library of Congress, it looks like they wrote it on a napkin with a worn-out felt-tip pen. Looks like they did it at lunch while they were having martinis. Okay, that's how complicated the seriousness is of becoming free. It is literally that simple. So the very first sentence in the document listed in the U.S. Code is our first founding document, Declaration of Independence, goes a little something like this. I usually read it, but my glasses for some reason are not in my bag. I don't know, the dog must have took them out. So I'm going to have to do it by memory. I might get a word or two wrong. The very first sentence goes a little something like this, and it's poetry. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to one another and assume among themselves the powers of the earth, those that are of nature and of God. For we hold these truths to be self-evident. And that's the next paragraph it starts out, okay? The first paragraph continues on and says, now prudence and, well, how does it say? A decent respect for the opinions of man, of our fellow man, drives us to declare that which is the cause for the separation. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They are unalienable. And you must be responsible to defend them. Not responsible, responsible. Are you able to respond, to defend them? Right now, the answer to that question is no. You will learn how to as you go down this journey to freedom. So, words mean things. We were given dominion by God and nature's law to create such a thing, and they declared it in the very first sentence of our nation's founding. That is your standing. Your status is a people. De jure. I need to write this down. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What was that? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that here. Okay. This is what we're doing. You've got a 2-track system, as I explain this. Over here you've got de jure. Over here you got de facto. Okay? I'm going to sit down so you can see. So you've got de jure and de facto. You've got to correct your status under both of these things.
Your microphone dropped.
What's that?
Your microphone dropped off your ear.
Okay, I got to switch. This is the bad one. No, spelling is one of the things I'm not really good at. Bovier's Law Dictionary.
B-O-U-V-I-E-R.
It's posted on my Telegram channel. 99% of what I'm telling you today is posted on my Telegram channel. You can look it up on my Telegram channel. Black's Law Dictionary is not recognized by the Supreme Court. It is not adopted by our Supreme Court as the Supreme Dictionary. Bovier's Law Dictionary is what's adopted by the Supreme Court. Black's Law Dictionary is for lower courts. Certain states use different venues, use different versions, editions of Black's Law Dictionary. We will get into that later. Black's Law. We're going to get into that later. We're still building the foundation. So let's talk about your status. You have a status. And down here we're going to put status. I don't know, status. Okay, so remember, spelling is one of my things. I learned a lot of stuff, and spelling wasn't that important. It was more about comprehending. Okay, so de facto and de jure. Over here, de facto is SMU. It's shit made up. Okay, and it is statute. Statutes, codes, and ordinances. Statutory. Your status is de facto, and over here you are a citizen. A 14th Amendment citizen. Lowercase c. Over here, under de jure, you want to correct your status to a people. And a capital C citizen by choice. That's important. 14th Amendment citizen. Does everybody have cell phone service down here? I want you to look up the 14th Amendment. And I want you to read in the 14th Amendment. And stop when you get to the word that jumps out at you about your rights, and raise your hand and tell me what that word is. What's the word that jumps out at you describing your rights, taking away your rights? It should jump right out at you if you have kids. And keep reading. No state shall make. Start over from the beginning.
Okay. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens, small c, of the United States, capitalized, and of the state, capitalized, wherein they reside. No state, capitalized, shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities.
Wait. Back up. Which shall abridge what?
The privileges.
Are privileges rights?
No.
Who gives you privileges? The government. Who gives you rights?
God.
Which one do you want to be?
God.
You want to have rights or privileges?
Rights.
Exactly. The 14th Amendment was never properly ratified. It is shit made up beyond belief. It was never properly ratified. Okay?
What is it supposed to do?
What's what now?
What is the 14th Amendment supposed to do?
The 14th Amendment makes you all a slave called a citizen, and gives you privileges and gives you due process under their code, statutes, and ordinances. Due process means they have the due process to hold you accountable for their shit made up. You see, God's law is very simple. You have to harm someone or trespass upon them in one way or another in order to break God's law. Their shit made up can be for anything they want to tell you is against their law. See, code, statutes, and ordinances are not law. Acts of Congress are not law. They are shit made up. They are de facto. Now, for anyone, does anybody in the room doubt that there is a difference between lawful and legal? After reading it in the U.S. Code about your money and your fiat currency, your Federal Reserve note, they told you there's a difference. They continue to tell you time and time and time again that they make shit up. And then they hold you accountable as an incapacitated legal idiot. They literally think you're chattel. CHATTEL. Huh? Yep. They literally think you're chattel or cattle. You are Your full faith and credit is the only reason that they exist. You are the creditor. You're not the debtor. It says so in the Constitution. But they hold you as a debtor by issuing fiat currency. And the banking cartel, which is part of the IMF, which is part of the cabal, look at the back of your $1 bill and look at the all-seeing eye, the Illuminati symbol. What does it mean? Wow, if I went into that, you'd really be well, let's just talk about what that Illuminati symbol means. The eye is the Pindar, the one that's in charge of the cabal. Oh, where did that thing go? Let's talk about what's on the back of your money and why it's evil. It's satanic. There it is. The top part is the eyeball. That's the Pindar. Right now, the Pindar, their initials are TVM. That's their first, middle initial, and last initial. Last name is Marcos. Family comes from the Philippines. The next level down is the 13 families. One of the most powerful of the 13 families, I shouldn't tell you that, lives in Nevada. No, you wouldn't be. That's the 13 families. The 13 families are on the back side of the 9 rings. I'm getting a little too deep. Okay, so then down here, this level is the 300 families. And that is the Illuminati. They control everything. The media that you watch, the news, the money that's in your pocket, they told you so on the back of your dollar bill. They put it on your money. And you didn't know what it meant. All right, that's enough of that. Okay, so let's get back to this. So now you got citizen by choice, people, 14th Amendment citizen over here. Over here, to correct your status, you must throw that off. You must claim under U.S. Code, Title 8, Section 1101A, small letter A, definitions 21 and 23. A state, national. That's a small s. Small, lowercase s, state national. Over here, your de jure, you must claim to correct your status. You must claim that as a people. A people is your correct status under the de jure, which is under our Constitution. This is under their shit made up. This is under the Constitution. This is real, this is shit made up. People under the Constitution. All right? That's your proper civil status. Is a state national, and you owe your allegiance to the state you inhabit. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm a Pennsylvanian. I'm a free man. I don't pay IRS taxes. You're a Texan. There you go. You know, Texas was actually a nation before it joined the Union, and Texas reserved the right to secede from the Union at will. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about what I laid out so far? Can I keep going or do we need a break? Yeah.
You said that our status as a people is our standing statement here.
Your standing is the 4 founding documents of our nation. We're still talking about status. I'm going to talk about your standing here in a minute. Okay? Now, what I normally do is I talk about all the shit made up, and I really get people pissed off, but I don't think I have to do that with this group, do I? No. Do we all know something's wrong? No. Yeah. I can talk for 2, 3, 4 days about what's wrong. You know, I want to give a shout out to the young folks we have in the group. I understand we've got some folks that are pretty young back there in the corner, and I want to let's give a shout out to them for getting involved in this. You know, God bless both of you for being here today. Yes, indeed. If you two have any specific questions, let me know. I'll talk to you about them, okay, in the group or privately, because this is very important. How does it feel, you two, and we get into this, how does it feel for you two knowing that you're already multimillionaires? You already have a Sesta trust set up by your birth certificate. And if you're 18, it's worth about $2.5 million. Your half. If you're 20, it's worth about $3.2 million, your half. If you're in your 60s, it's worth about $75 million, your half. You get half of it. We're going to talk about the trust tomorrow, okay? I'm just tickling you, okay? Because I don't have to piss you off, but I am going to piss you off here in a minute when I start talking about what they've done to us with this jab. Okay, and how you can defend against it. All right, so this is your status, your correct status. There's a lot of conversation in the back room, in the back of the room there. You guys, were you still digging up stuff on the internet there? Is there anything, seriously, anything that we should know? Okay. I mean, if you find something, please bring it up. You know, we're in a discussion here. What's that? You're shocked. When you bring it up, you're shocked. Yeah, when you find this stuff and you look it up, it's like, yeah. I'm not going to tell you the man's name. His last name is Marcos. No comment. TVM. Okay, so does everybody got this down? There's 2 of everything. We're going to talk about 2 of everything. I'm just going to throw these on the floor because I don't have a trash can. We could pick them up later. All right. Okie doke. All right, folks. So there's 2 of everything. Let me give you an example. I want to write down some words, and I want you guys to pay real close attention to this. Everything that the cabal does to you is done to you under admiralty law. So where does law come from? What is law? L-A-W. Yes. Law, and let me back up because I got lost. I went down a bunny trail. Let me back up to where we got dominion. What is nature's law and God's law? And what did the founding generation think that it meant? What was that? Well, 1611 version of the King James Bible, the King of England, King James Bible. It's even better if you go back and find a translation. What's the first Bible that was written? What's it called? The Geneva Bible. The Geneva Bible. If you go back and get a translation of that Bible. By the way, your church, you should be teaching that original Bible. If you're using the King James Version Bible that's printed after 1611, you're getting more shit made up by the crown. Okay? The real Bible is the Geneva Bible. Throw those King James Version Bibles, those modern translations, throw them in the trash can. All right? And we're going to talk about that. I want you to go back and look up this passage. I'm going to give it to you. It's where the founding generation got the authority and the idea that they could throw off a king and rule themselves under nature's law, those that are of God. In the Bible, it says Genesis chapter 1, verse 24 through 28. And God created the heaven and the earth. And God giveth man. Now there are two types of men. There is a man, M-A-N, and there is a wombed man, a woman. So when the Bible talks about man, it's talking about man and a W-O-M-B-M-A-N. We drop this and call it a woman. When the Bible talks about man, when the founders talk about men, they mean both types of men, both genders. It's important to know what words mean, and wait till I start taking you down that little journey. Okay, so, and God giveth man dominion over the earth, and God giveth man dominion over the land, and all the creatures that walk and creepeth. And God giveth man dominion over the air, and all the birds that fly. And God giveth man dominion over the water, and all the fish that swimmeth. And there's another one that talks about space in the original Bible, but we won't talk about that because that gets a little off topic for where we're at. Aliens are real. Okay. Yeah, the Bible in Romans actually talks about celestial evil. Celestial evil is not of this earth. Celestial evil is evil alien to this earth. The Bible tells you. The book of Enoch, Ezekiel's wheel. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. The Bible tells you there are celestial beings, some of whom are evil. All right, so, and the water. And this is law. God defined the three jurists of law. So we have what's called jurisdiction. Jurisdiction. S. And they are land, air, and water. And this is law. Law is an acronym for the three jurists. Juris is right law. The diction is the words of the jurist. I'll give you, for instance, between land and water. Land is real law. It is common law. Water is contract, commerce. C-O-M, two M's or one? C-O-M-M-E-R-C-E is commerce or contract. Contract law, C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T, or contract. Admiralty, A-D-M-I-R, spell it for me. A-L-T-Y. Admiralty. Okay, the law of the water. So I'll give you a for instance between the two and how you communicate with the proper diction. So your automobile is a device, and you use that to travel in. It is your private property. Now, unfortunately, through not knowing the truth, when you go into an automobile dealership and you buy a brand new automobile, it's not called a motor vehicle dealership, is it? It's called an automobile dealership. Autonomous mobility for a people, an automobile. A motor vehicle is a commerce vehicle. So how it works is you go into a dealership and you go to buy an automobile and they bring out this red document. Red is the color of land. Ink, it is the color red. Water is blue. And the law of the air is purple. Okay? So you go into an automobile dealership and they bring out this red document called the Manufacturer's Certificate of Origin. Where did that thing come from? And you turn that thing over on the back because the dealership guru says you got to owe us, give us another $250 for tax, title, and tag work. So you flip that document over, that red document, that's a superior title, and you do something really dumb that I did many, many times, and we put our signature on there. A signature is to surrender nature's law. And you surrender the superior title and give it over to the state. You get a certificate of title, not the title. The certificate of title at the very top of it is on legal bond paper, and it says the state of in all capital letters. And the state says, thank you very much. Now we may tax this. Now you must have a driver's license. Now you must have insurance. And you must pay for our license plate and get it inspected in some states every year. And in some states like Virginia, pay taxes on it every year. Yay! Because you gave up your property and turned it into something called a motor vehicle. And now the motor vehicle code is a what? It's not a law, it's a what? Motor vehicle code. Code, statutes, and ordinances, are they law? No. They are shit made up. They are a contract under the law of the water. And the government incorporated itself so that they can pull you into the law of the water, because a government that's not incorporated has no dominion over you whatsoever, other than what you agree to. But under code, statutes, and ordinances, they can legislate your liberty, freedom away. And they do every day. Dream up ways to take your stuff away from you, none of which you own anyway, because you bought it with fiat currency. Legal tender is a debt issued for a later date to be settled at probate when you die by your Cestacue birth account trust, which has millions of dollars in it, that was hypothecated when you were 15 days old. Then it goes to probate, and all the banks, the Federal Reserve banks that issued fiat currency on all the bank accounts that had all your names and Social Security numbers on it, it's all fiat currency. Currency. We're going to get into that. I'm dropping some words and putting emphasis on them because I want you to wake up, because what I'm about to lay on you is going to just really blow your mind. So, the currency is what you've been using. And I'll show you right now. Ladies are the ones that carry the checkbooks. Let me finish up with this one, because I'm going too fast. I'm trying to cram a week's worth of information into 2 days. So I go a little too fast. I need to be a little bit more controlled. So let's finish this story. So when a police officer pulls you over, the words you use determines which jurisdiction you're in. The police officer, we're going to go into words. Words mean something. Man, what does police mean? What's the difference between police and law enforcement? Look at the word, police. I want you to spell real slow, P-O-L-I, and stop. And then I want you to put a big C with a period and an E with a period. The word police. Policy, corporate enforcement. Police are not law enforcement. Police are policy enforcement agents. Let me see, right here. The Clearfield Doctrine in 1942. Police are private contractors for a private corporation. 2 pages, 2 pages and part of a third one, and it explains to you the Clearfield document of why police are not law enforcement. They are policy enforcement agents. They tell you so right on the side of their car. With a big word says police. It's an acronym for policy corporate enforcement. They're not law enforcement. Law enforcement is your sheriff. So the policy enforcement agent, the road pirate, the legal idiot that doesn't even know what law is, he thinks a code is a law, or she, because a bar attorney told him that it was. The bar attorney even thinks it's law, because the bar attorney never knew what law was or where it came from. They think codes or ordinances are law. My local judge, my magistrate judge, thinks that the government owns the roads. I said, you're nuts. She says, on our roads. I said, well, whose roads? Who is we? Who's our? Didn't have a clue. So I'm in the process of schooling that one. But anyhow, yeah. So here comes the policy agent. It says, give me your driver's license. The definition of a driver is a person engaged in commerce. So you hand him over the driver's license and the vehicle registration. You just told him that you're not driving your real property, and you have a driver's license to conduct commerce on the roadway. And now he has jurisdiction over you because you agreed to a contract, or he has dominion rather, dictionism. He has dominion over you because you agreed to a contract called the Motor Vehicle Code when you registered your vehicle and got a driver's license. So you say here, and he writes you a ticket for crossing the yellow line. If you don't pay it, you get a criminal summons. Well, there's no crime if all you did was cross the yellow line. Where's the victim? Where's the corpus delicti? There is none. It's shit made up. And if you don't pay it, you get a criminal summons, like they summons the dead. All it is a presentment. It's an invitation to show up at their bar court, their Roman rule administrative court. And we go in there on general appearance as incapacitated legal idiots with an attorney to present us as our vessel that was created with the birth certificate in our all-capital name, so that they can send a bill to your Cesta QV trust account on top of the traffic fine you pay. And they don't tell you about that back-end money. That goes into a coffer account, and the judge oftentimes gets part of it. So does the prosecuting attorney. It's crime beyond belief. President Trump told you that the Bar Association is corrupt. He said it in speeches. Everything I'm going to tell you Trump said, he said it this year. Trump's told you that Joe Biden is not who Joe Biden is. Trump has told you when he goes back to the White House, it's going to be in little letters. Trump told you that people are sovereign. Trump told you that we are at war. Trump told you that the Bar Association is corrupt. Trump told you that Washington, D.C. needs to be made into a museum. Okay? Trump told you that the real capital is Philadelphia. He said these things this year. He also told you we're going to have a really good Christmas.
Yeah, baby.
That's all I'm going to say about that. These are the words that our 19th president of our constitutional republic told you. But did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The 19th president of our constitutional republic told you these things this year. Who gives a shit what Joe Biden, the 46th corporation president, says? Yeah. Okay, so this is how I answer a police officer. No, I don't have to give you my driver's license and registration. I have a tag on my car merely for your convenience. I get to decide whether I'm in the jurisdiction of the water, engaged in commerce, or whether I'm in the jurisdiction of the land, traveling in my private automobile. I am not engaged in a contract. I'm not transporting persons or property in the engagement of a contract under commerce. Therefore, I am on the land and I am traveling in my private property. And I am not subject to your code, statutes, and ordinances because I am a people. If you look me up on LexisNexis, you will see that. Here is my passport that defines my status, and you can look that up on your LexisNexis. Do you have LexisNexis in your cruiser, officer? If you don't, you can call the OIC, the officer in charge, and get them to verify what I just told you. Hand them that document. I have a driver's license for when I'm engaged in commerce. I choose the jurisdiction I'm in. I'm a people. When I'm driving my company truck that's owned by my corporation that I own, my vessel owns it, and when I'm engaged in my vessel as the executor and I'm executing the business of my estate called my minor estate trust, my all-capital birth certificate name, I'm engaged in commerce. When I'm traveling like I did today to come meet a bunch of my friends to have some fun, I'm not under their jurisdiction of a code, statute, or ordinance. So saith the Supreme Court of the United States. Use determines jurisdiction. I am a sui juris as a free man. Those of you that have corrected your status, you are a sui juris. You are a free man or a free woman. You choose the jurisdiction based on the use of your automobile. So I hand them this. Well, that's not a driver's license. Correct. Where do you live? I live in my skin. No. Where's your home at? My home's where I lay my head. Well, what's your name? What name are you looking for, officer? My vessel name, my all-capital name, so you can engage in a presentment. A presentment is an offer to contract called a traffic ticket. My children call me dad, my wife calls me honey, my dad calls me son, my dog calls me wolf, and my cat calls me meow. Which name are you looking for? Where's your home at? My home is where I lay my head. Oftentimes, it's every night it's next to my wife. So, you see the diction is important. Well, you're operating that motor vehicle. No, I'm not operating it. Well, what do you call turning the steering wheel? I call it manipulating the controls of my private property to go in the direction I desire. I'm not operating anything. I'm manipulating the controls of my private property. So you see, it's a mindset. It's a paradigm shift. And I'm not talking about 20 cents. It's a paradigm shift. It's a way of thinking. It's not a transaction that involves 2 dimes. It's a paradigm shift that involves the transformation of the way you think. Everything is admiralty. Everything is water. Over 75% of the surface of our globe is covered in water. Everything that walks and breathes the air starts out in water or some form of water. A child comes through the mother's womb. The water breaks. The child goes through the birth canal, birth of a ship, maritime law, marriage, mariner sauce, marriage. Everything is admiralty. The child goes through the birth canal. after the water breaks, into the hands of the dock. Tor, the tied-off ship, the umbilical cord is cut, and that child is now a vessel, adrift on the water, abandoned by the mother in a birthing ward, a foundling center under the Maternity Act and Parents Patriae. It is a founding center, a safe place to abandon your child. You're a mother and you don't know these terms, and you sign, signature, a legal document. The child goes into the hands of the dock. Maritime reference to the dock, the boat dock. Tor is a bill of lading, the birth certificate. The person pays the bill. Purser on the land, purser on the ship. A purser becomes a person on the land. The purser carries the ship's purse, which contains the money. The purser is responsible for paying the dock, tor, the bill of lading. The child goes into the hands of the dock, tor, and a satanic ritual takes place, and the child's made to cry, scream out in pain after they smack him on the butt. I'm talking about historically, not all doctors do this. Smack him on the butt, and then that legal bond paper looks just like a car title. And the mother signatures as an informant, informing the state that you're abandoning your child. They're lost at sea on the water. The umbilical cord is cut. The cutting of the cord severs you as a whole human being. Bouvier's Law Dictionary, human being, definition, monster. The child is now turned over and a soul is taken from them. A soul print is taken from them and placed on that bill of lading, that birth certificate, that vessel instrument. That birth certificate, the child's soul is taken from them before they have a chance to put their feet on the land as a creation of God. And then the child is set adrift as a person, a personification. The word person is maritime law, admiralty law. Words mean things. It predates the birth of baby Jesus. It's the oldest form of law. It's one of the oldest words on the globe is person. A purser is responsible under admiralty law for carrying the ship's purse, which is where the money's at. They're responsible for paying the bill of lading, the tor, at the dock when they arrive. The purser goes on the land. The purser on the land. Purser on became person. You're a purser on land if you call yourself a person. You are not a person. You are not a resident. And you are definitely not a lowercase 14th Amendment citizen with a Zen master. Citizenship, ownership, scholarship, stewardship. I can go on and on and on. Currency has a flow like a river, and it's controlled by the bank. And we call it money, money-I. Mana-I. Everything is admiralty law, water law. We have liberty. Seamen creates a baby. Seamen on a ship get liberty, not freedom. Liberty is granted by the captain. Freedom is given from God at birth, when you're born, not at birth. Birth is a misconstrued word, misspelled. The birth of a ship. A child is not birthed. A child is born of the mother and of the father. Maxim of law, that which one creates, one controls. The mother controls that child. The father merely provided the semen in a marriage, hopefully, marriage license, How many of you know what marinara sauce is? Marinara sauce. We call it marinara sauce. The proper terminology is mariner, like a seagoing mariner. The term comes from ancient Rome and Greece. They had clay casks, clay vessels that they would put tomato and meat and vegetables in, like onions and green peppers, and they would put it in olive oil. And that was how the food was transported. Even the meat was in there. When the seamen on the ship got back the empty vessels, the caskets, at the bottom there was usually scraps of meat and tomato and vegetables, onions, green peppers, olives. And they would take that olive oil and put it into a big kettle, and they would cook it. And they made gravy called marinara sauce. We know it as spaghetti sauce. You see, the history of words go back thousands of years. Thousands of years. Stop calling people persons. Persona. Look up the word persona, personal, and person. Person is a corporate vessel, a corporation, an entity. People, by the cabal, has been issued an edict of past presidents and different acts of Congress as a terrorist. This is what the cabal's done to undermine what you think is words. Anybody have any questions? I got. I'm sorry, say that again. What about the. Yeah, and then take the soul print on the back of the birth certificate.
What's it?
That's the satanic ritual to draw blood, to create pain and suffering.
Okay.
So the child knows that there's pain and suffering. Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said that the police were a policy corporate enforcement agent.
Yes.
What did you say a sheriff was?
A sheriff is law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
Well, the sheriff, if they're a constitutional sheriff, man or woman, then they're going to know the difference between laws and codes, and they're going to comprehend. But unfortunately, our sheriffs are not constitutional. Even the ones that call themselves constitutional sheriffs are oftentimes not constitutional. Okay?
What's interesting here in this county where we are, Loudon, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors wants to change our sheriff's department to a police department, which will, according to you, will be able to enforce corporate.
So let me back up for the folks that are online. Well, you got the microphone. So here in Loudoun County, your county commissioners want to change the sheriff.
The Board of Supervisor chairman
The Board of Supervisor chairman, one of them,
wants to change from a sheriff's department
which is elected, the
Which
sheriff
is elected,
to an appointed police
to an
agent.
appointed police. And on our county, we have six.
Whoa, stop. Get together a posse and go hang that county commissioner.
Well, she's a Democrat with
Well-
six on the
Well,
board.
here's what you need to. I'm serious. This gets under my skin. That is
It gets under
treason.
mine,
It
too.
is treason against the people.
Yeah, agree.
It is treason against the people. Convene a citizens' grand jury, a people's grand jury, get an indictment together, and charge them with treason if they made that statement publicly.
Oh, yeah, she had.
It is treason against we the people. It's an alteration of our constitutions, the Virginia Constitution and the United States Constitution for America. It is treason against we the people.
We've been busy here in Loudoun County getting enough signatures to get rid of school
Well, they need to
board
be
members.
hung.
Well, that's the next step.
You know, our
but-
nation was founded by dangerous people who believed it was okay to shoot traitors.
I don't think we'll be doing that.
No, we're not going to do that. We don't have to do that. Now, I say that for a reason. I'm going to lead you down this path. I say that for a reason. That price has been paid, and I want you to hear all of this. The price of blood and treasure has already been paid. All we have to do is learn what our founding documents mean, and we have 5 liberties in the First Amendment that allows you to hold that individual accountable. Okay? So this is a detailed thing I want to get into. All right? And we're going to get into it later today after lunch. So please remind me to come back to this on how we do that. So I'm going to give you a real quick overview of what the 5 liberties are and why they're there. You need to take these notes, hon. We do not have to shoot one another or hang one another to restore our constitutional republic. All we have to do is use our First Amendment after we correct our status. And there's at least 25 of you that have corrected your status. A people's grand jury can be convened by 25 people. Yes. Well, in natural human self, the United States Code has taken over the term natural man and natural woman. In 2012, thank you, Barack Obama, the term natural man and natural woman cannot be cognized as a people because under the U.S. Code in 2012, thank you, Barack Obama, they absconded those words, those phrases, and included them as a person. The only standing that you have as a status is under God's law, those that are of the earth, of nature, and of God. And that is a people. They will not mess with the word people for a reason. Because it is real. But they will define anything they can as a person. So I am a people. I am a man, I am a woman. That is your status under the Constitution. Under statutes, you are a state national, and you owe your allegiance to Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, North Carolina, whichever state you inhabit. Texas, whichever state you inhabit. I am a Pennsylvanian. That is your status. Yes.
Most of us here in Virginia, and I was thinking about moving to North Carolina, but my point is this. I believe the state of the Constitution of Virginia is an excellent document to be a state citizen of Virginia, even though the current political climate has gone to the left.
Every constitution of one of the states, remember the lower 48, every single one of them starts out with the people are sovereign, the people, all the power rests in the people. It starts out talking about the people and their dominion over government. Okay, no more questions. I got to get through this topic. Okay, I want you to write this down.
Bobby, when did you want to take a
We're
real
going to
quick
take a break after I talk about this.
Okay.
What time is it getting to be?
Almost 11, and we
Okay.
eat at 12:30.
Oh, that's okay. We had a late start too, so.
Okay.
All right, so I want to talk about this because it's really on this lady's mind, and I want to talk about it while the topic's hot. So here's how we do it. There are 5 liberties in the First Amendment, and they're in a specific order for a reason. Correct your status, convene a people's grand jury, and use the First Amendment as it was intended. The First Amendment has 5 liberties. The first liberty is Congress shall make no law. There shall be no law made to abridge the practice of religion. The practice of religion was so that we could have a common moral sense of what's right and wrong. The second liberty or freedom, I'm going to call it the freedom, the second freedom that we have is the right to talk about events of the day. The next one down is the right to put those words on paper. The freedom of the press. It doesn't say liberty of the press. It says freedom of the press. Freedom is greater than liberty. Remember, liberty is granted by the shipmaster. Freedom is granted by God. The founders are talking to you in the First Amendment. We have the right to write them down, to make a post. A post came from a parchment that was nailed to the fence post in the town square. That's a post. A posting. And then the next one is the right to assemble. It doesn't say the liberty to assemble, it says the right to assemble. Rights come from God. And in that assembly, we do the fifth liberty. The assembly of free men and women, they put pen to paper and create a petition, a paternal rendition of a list of grievances for redress. Redress does not mean you are in distress. Redress does not mean address. Redress does not mean we want your opinion, you elected idiot. Redress means simply this. In colonial English, the farmer would come in from the field for dinner, and the wife would put her hand on her hip and say, "Not at my dinner table. You must redress for dinner." So the farmer would go take off the soiled clothes, and he would redress for dinner. And he would come back to the table and represent himself to the lady of the house to make sure it was okay to have a seat and partake in the evening meal. He redressed the grievance of his wife's aversion to his appearance of dragging all that dirt into her kitchen. That is a redress in colonial English. An assembly is those of freeholders, planters, and stakeholders by province. That's a colonial assembly. In today's terminology, we would call that your township. We would call that your borough, your county. Under our constitutions, it would be the county of the Republic of Loudoun, or the Loudoun County Republic, upper and lower case. Loudoun County is a corporation. Loudoun County Republic is de jure, created by the Virginia Constitution. Actually, the counties created the states. The states created the federal government. So when you look at a pyramid, and you got at the top is the president, then you got the federal government under that, then you got the states, and then you got the counties. Flip that pyramid upside down. The people are on top. The people created towns. The towns created counties. The counties created states. The states created the federal government. The federal government elected a representative for Washington, D.C., and that representative is the president of the United States for America. At the very bottom of the power pyramid, at the very top is the widest part. It's we the people. It's a republic form of government. So when we correct our status, we assemble as free men and free women, and we create a petition, a parental addition to that which we created, called our public servant government official. And that petition does not have signatures on it. Now, one of the things you told me when you said we're collecting signatures, signature is different than an autograph. A signature in 1600s Scotland, a sig was what you branded your sheep with. A signate was a sheep that was branded. Sig is to surrender. When you go back further than that, a sig is to, Pig Latin, for surrender. Sig is to surrender nature. You never, ever want to signature a document, because a politician will look at that and ignore it because you gave up your rights under God through a signature. A living man, a living woman, one of we the people, authorizes with a graphic the statement on the petition, the parental order. It's a parental rendition. We the people created all government. We are the parent. How can we become subservient to that which we created? Only by our tacit agreement. So saith the Supreme Court. The only way the government can have dominion over you is through your consent. But you must have a correct status of a people. How many boxes on government forms did you check that said U.S. citizen? How many of you still fill out IRS forms? I don't fill out any IRS tax payments. I don't pay them anything because they are a foreign corrupt money laundering organization. Okay, we're gonna take a break. Go ahead.
How long have you not paid them?
I haven't paid them since I recorded my affidavit of repudiation and truth and got my passport. So it's been most of this year, since March.
Since March?
Yeah. You're good. We're going to learn about that tomorrow. Today is why, tomorrow is how. Okay?
And if you have a question, just raise your hand so I can make sure that I get the mic to you, because we have others that are being streamed and they're hearing this and they can't hear when you speak, okay?
Thanks for that reminder. Thanks for that reminder. Okay, folks, we're going to take a short break.
Short break for about like 10 minutes, and then we're coming back, and then lunch will be about 12:30, okay?
Short break,
Awesome.
folks.
Short break.
When we come back, I'm going to talk about the jab. Wait till you hear about what the government's done to you about the jab. What do you think?